Can you hear me?
Sorry?
Can you hear me? Does it work?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to put one volume up.
It's my, sorry.
Sorry.
I don't want
Sorry.
to.
It was for the aesthetic.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much and welcome to this Global Covenant of Mayors session for the presentation, the launch of the technical assistance package that the Global Covenant of Mayors will provide in the next months and couple of years to the cities, either signatory cities and new possible new potential partners gathering the alliance. So my name is Piero Remitti, Piero Roberto Remitti. I am co-managing director of this wider alliance named the Global Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy. I have the luck today to have with me my beautiful colleagues, Iliyana Arnaudova, climate finance expert for the Global Covenant of Mayors, as well as Alexandra Papadopoulou, that is energy and sustainable cities and sustainable energy expert for the Global Covenant of Mayors as well. They will introduce you to the very more technical details in particular parts of this package. I will just give a very brief introduction to it. Yes, thank you. I suppose that mostly all of you are already aware what the Global Covenant of Mayors actually is. We are kind of one world coalition, big alliance, involving all the mayors networks acting in the climate action sector and fields of activity with many cities from all over the world. The most famous are ICLE, EC40, CDP, but also European Commission is very much involved in this. The European Union funding strongly regional covenants and the Global Secretariat as well, so the big part of the alliance. So totally we are now counting on almost 12,000 of cities from every region and every part in the world. Basically, the next slide, please. Yeah, you have it. Thank you very much. Yes. Okay. This is what we are doing in a nutshell, in very, very short. We are engaging, committing the cities in order to facilitate their climate action. And this is done towards targets that our cities are establishing either in the mitigation field as well as in the adaptation sector, but also now in the access to energy pillar. And those targets are usually taken at a higher level than the national targets given by the national determined contribution, so meaning that our cities are very much ambitious. So, next one, Iliyana, thank you very much. Great. So, always trying to best and to get the best from our efforts and trying to shift from the commitment to the implementation actually is the bottom line at the moment for all the organization as well as public and in the private and the NGO acting in the climate sector, climate action sectors. So shifting to the action, to the implementation, to after the let's say the planning season that has been done in the last years. So we are now starting from now offering to and presenting today for the first time in an integrated manner. We are starting to offer to our regional covenants. We have 13 spread all around the world, but also to the cities directly, an integrated package for technical assistance. It's an ambitious design of this package because it is meant to involve and to regard all the different parts of the project cycle, from the planning until pre-feasibility and towards the bankability stages for implementation of single projects and action, up to the multi-level implementation of action plan. That is now a crucial point already started to be addressed in the previous COP27. That will be probably the key subject, one of the key subjects in the next COP27. So how to involve, how to engage local authorities, municipalities, cities with the national authorities and with all the national level different tiers of institutional framework that are needed for more effective implementation of the projects that have been designed and included in our climate action plan. So it's a very much integrated, it's very much mutually connecting each other, those three different types of technical assistance. I'm giving the floor now to introduce you and to present to you in each one in particular all those three different type of technical assistance, but you please consider all of them as an integrated package that will be mutually assisting one to each other. We start with Alexandra Papadopoulou that will be leading and coordinating the first activity that you see on the left side, that is on-demand technical assistance for development of 50 climate action plans and projects in countries that are not at the moment, not yet serviced by the Global Covenant of Mayors. So we are speaking in this case of new cities and new countries. Please, Alexandra.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. So going into more details on the on-demand technical assistance, I'm leading the effort of providing technical assistance to selected countries and cities from countries that have not received technical assistance in the past by the Global Covenant of Mayors or any other, let's say, specific regional secretariat. And I will be going into more detail. So what we are going to do is to provide them with tailored assistance to develop climate action plans. And in particular, 50 climate action plans that outline the efforts of the local authorities in order to mitigate, adapt, but also ensure access to secure, affordable, and sustainable energy. And we are also provide them with technical assistance, tailored technical assistance, in order to develop selected projects out of these climate action plans into the pre-feasibility stages and maturing them in order to be able to reach the financing institutions. So in a little bit more detail, the countries that we have been working, that we are going to work with, have been identified after deliberations and after careful analysis of all the countries that have not received technical assistance in the past. So we are working in 3 countries in Central Asia. So these countries being Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Uzbekistan. We are also going to support Oman in the Middle East, Tanzania and Ivory Coast in Sub-Saharan Africa, and also selected countries from the Pacific Islands. Now there are 3 key pillars in the effort of the technical assistance that we are going to be providing. The first has to do with help desk services. So for those that may not be aware, help desk services are a key pillar to the Global Covenant of Mayors. They are the persons that are in close contact with the cities. They are assisting them in adhering to the alliance, addressing very basic technical questions that they may have, guiding them a little bit through the process of what has to be done. So we are establishing help desk offices and help desk services to Central Asia and Oceania countries. Then the second pillar has to do with the 50 climate action plans to be developed in these countries. And thirdly, the pre-feasibility stages for 10 priority projects. And here you can see the team. We are engaging a multidimensional, multilateral team of experts that have different backgrounds. Myself, I'm a chemical engineer that has been working on local climate and energy planning for the last 12 years. But I'm joined with a very versatile team of experts, my colleague Iliyana Arnaudova on climate finance. We are also joined by my colleagues Michael Anzeo, who is working on transport, Guido Mattei, who is with us, and he's working on climate adaptation. I'm taking the chance to also invite you on his session at 5 o'clock, where he will be discussing on climate adaptation and disaster risk reduction. Then Biljana Chobanova on energy transition and green buildings, and Vani Puccioni on nature-based solutions. We are also going to be joined with an expert working on waste, as this is also a very important priority sector for a number of the local authorities that we will be working with. So I do believe we have the background and the different experience to support very effectively the local authorities on this. So in terms of the technical assistance services to these non-service regions, as you can see, we have followed a specific methodological approach in order to do this, and we have gathered a set of criteria that a number of countries across the regions have been evaluated against. And the countries that have, let's say, scored the higher and have seem to have the highest potential in receiving the support are the ones that have been selected as beneficiaries in this technical assistance. Of course, we have also progressed in consultations with different stakeholders in these regions to present the approach and collect some initial feedback. Now we are in the status where we have been in discussions. We have launched a discussion in some of the countries. In particularly, my colleagues are now on a mission to Ivory Coast, and they are meeting with the national authorities and explaining all of this in order to launch the technical assistance. In order to do this with the cities, we have set a number of criteria for the cities that we will be working with. So we would like the cities to be committed, of course, to have the political commitment. So all the cities that will be beneficiaries of the technical assistance we are providing, they will also be signatory members of the Global Covenant of Mayors in the shorter or longer term. We are wanting to ensure that we have a diversity of cities, not only in terms of geography, but in terms of different characteristics. So we know we are trying to set a replicable example that can be afterwards followed and taken up by other cities in these countries. So we are trying to engage smaller and bigger cities in different geographical locations, potentially more mountainous ones or coastal ones, cities that have a different economic background, that address different economic sectors. They can be touristic cities, they can be agricultural, they can be industrial, they can be all types of sorts. Cities also that are facing different hazards, as you see in the vulnerability. So they can be cities that are more vulnerable for perhaps to typhoons or other kind of hurricanes, to flooding or other areas, to water shortages, to increased heat. So there are different kind of climate hazards, and we want to have a diversified approach of the cities being on board with us. We are also trying to ensure that the cities have a significant greenhouse gas abatement potential. This relates to some extent to the size of the city, although we are not putting this as a prerequisite. So what we are trying basically to do is to work with cities that are representative for the country. It can be, as mentioned, we will be working in the Pacific Islands, so you cannot put size, for example, for Fiji or some of the other beneficiary countries. They are very tiny. But when you are going to a country like Kazakhstan or Kyrgyzstan, you want to have a more diversified and representative city selected. And then to sustainability, and this relates a little bit more to the commitment as well. So we want to have examples that can be replicated and can be sustained also by the cities. Now, in terms of the cities identification, because this is a challenging process, we are an alliance of cities, an alliance of partners, an alliance of cities that are voluntarily committing to us. Nevertheless, we have to recognize that many of the countries that we are going to work are rather centralized, and this doesn't change. So in an effort to promote the Global Covenant of Mayors there, we are following two approaches that are offered. The first is to do a top-down selection. The cities, the national authorities identify, after consultation with all relevant actors, the cities that we are going to work with. Or we are going to do a bottom-up approach, an open call for cities to express their interest, to participate in this initiative and be beneficiaries of the technical assistance. So the cities identification will follow the most suitable option, and as mentioned, all the selected cities will be beneficiaries and signatories to the GCoM Alliance. Now, in this slide, I have tried to gather some of the key challenges that we are expected to face in these regions. This is not a non-exhaustive list, as you understand, but gathers some of the challenges that we have identified already through the desk work and the initial contacts we have with them. So one of the problems is the low energy tariffs. In some of the countries specifically, the energy tariffs are so low that really it's a question on whether you can motivate people to save energy just for financial revenues. The second is, of course, the city's mandate. This is very important. The city's mandate, let's not take, let's say, the EU approach here or some other countries' approach. In many of the countries, cities do not have the mandate to work on local and climate action. And if they do, they have perhaps restricted responsibility to work on specific topics. So what we're trying to do is to we know this, and this was one of the, let's say, criteria dealt at the national level when we were selecting the countries, but we are also trying to promote this and to make the national governments potentially understand on the city's mandate. We also have the energy market's lack of liberalization. So this is another problem and challenge that we are going to face. The lack of regulatory framework on promoting renewable energy or energy efficiency solutions. The lack of awareness, and of course the lack of metering and consumption data. In terms of the next steps for this part of the technical assistance, I should say that we are expecting that by end of 2022, we will have launched the full-fledged technical assistance in all the countries selected, and that by spring 2023, we will have been initiating all the technical assistance provisions for the project's maturation. So we are running the activities a little bit in parallel. We are expecting that by May 2024, we will have completed the CAPs and the pre-feasibility stages for the projects to be identified, with the hope that by September 2024, we will have the climate action plans approved by the cities and put into force, let's say, by them. And with this, I will give the floor to my colleague Iliyana.
Thank you, Alexandra. Oh, that microphone is working pretty well. In the Covenant of Mayors, we realized that having a climate action plan is not enough in order to decrease emissions. Actually, implementing actions on the ground is what needs particular attention. Now I will be presenting the part of the technical assistance package in relation to projects definition at pre-feasibility stages. That's a technical assistance package that is going to support roughly 20 projects between 2022 and 2024 to implement actions coming from the city climate action plans. Generally, the objective is to address a gap that we are aware of, the ability of cities to identify and formulate actual projects in the upstream phase of project definition, to also look at the bankability potential, the different variations that it might have, as well as the KPIs, and finally, to look at the climate finance metrics that can be both quantitative or qualitative and are in relation to the impact on human health and on the nature. The service is actually going to be tailor-made to the existing needs that the city have. Once a city applies through an application form to receive technical assistance, we are going to assess what are the gaps and have a kick-off meeting with the municipal staff to really have a complementary partner role. So the city is not the sole actor, neither are we. This is really going to be a partnership between two. The eligible projects that we'll be supporting are going to be infrastructure ones. So projects that look only at the soft side are not going to be eligible. For example, running a promotion campaign for energy savings alone is not going to be considered eligible project unless it has this kind of hard side where there is the potential to look at installation of new infrastructure, refurbishing, replacement. The eligible regions are South Asia, East Asia, Southeast Asia, Eastern Europe, where I come from, Central Asia, Latin America, the Caribbean, Middle East and North Africa, Eastern Balkans, and Turkey. These regions are actually, as per Global Covenant of Mayors website, please do not take as um, if we are dividing regions ourselves and coming up with new geographies and geopolitical dynamics. The requests for technical assistance are going to be submitted directly to us, the Global Secretariat, as long as the GCoM partners that Piero mentioned in the beginning. We've heard the names, CDP, C40, ECLAY, there is a long, long list. I think I already did address the place of the technical assistance within the full project cycle. We want to support cities, define their project at the early stages, so after our job is done, they can move to full feasibility studies and seek funding from different donors. I'm looking at the slide. Through this technical assistance, we want to accelerate bankability, to facilitate access to finance in those cities by potentially, based on the applications we'll be getting, looking at technology risks, the mandate of investors, legal regulatory environment, solvency, demand and supply, of course, liquidity, incomplete preparatory reports, and others. Our team has technical skills in different areas, but we do expect cities to come up with part of the information themselves, the legal and regulatory background. Everyone knows best their context, and we're not there to try to start from scratch. The projects that we are going to be accepting are pretty much all sectors that are indicated in the climate action plan of a city. Eligible projects are going to include disaster risk reduction, transport, very popular topic, building energy efficiency and construction, renewable energy generation, waste and circular economy, and last but not least, first on the screen, natural resources, agriculture and biodiversity. The two services we are going to be offering to cities are support in the project definition. So a city might roughly know that they want to address buildings and different savings from that, but what is really necessary in order to get grant funding or private funding is to have this specific action. Where is this building located? What is its consumption? What is the reduction potential with others? So that's one of the key services that we can support cities in. I'm giving examples on buildings and energy since this was my specialization. Please do not feel that this is as narrowed. And secondly, the type of services that we'll be offering is support to cities to identify suitable business models and municipal revenue streams. Cities have many options to fund climate action, and sometimes they might need inspiration from best practices or a bit of a reminder and guidance. How can I use the property tax on the territory of my city to fund let's say a new transport or cycling or green space projects, local taxes and use taxes? Global Covenant of Mayors actually does have many examples from mainly from Global North countries, but it would be interesting to see if Global South countries would have the interest and could apply similar methodologies. So what cities get? quick tailor-made assistance that's going to last for between 4 and 6 months. They're also going to get parts of a report that will look at the funding sources for the particular projects that they have. Through the network of financial institutions that we have in GCoM, we aim to accelerate the access to finance. What cities need to do? We would like to work with cities that already are committed politically, that there is an existing mayoral commitment, municipal council commitment, so that the project can live after the technical assistance and can see a future and the day after once our team departs. What cities unfortunately don't get is direct funding. We cannot provide direct funding at this stage. We are happy to provide guidance, as I said, on existing city facilities that are out there, including guidance on preparing applications for the Green Climate Fund, Global Environment Facility, and others. Here on the screen you can see tentative selection criteria for the projects, political support, replicability and sustainability, innovation, vulnerability and greenhouse gas abatement, inclusive climate action. We are going to give different weight to the criteria. So you can see replicability and sustainability is going to give more points to your application, as well as the number of emissions that you are going to decrease through your project. The application process is going to be pretty straightforward, using a simplified application form that is based on application forms from other donors and facilities. 5-pager, and cities will be able to submit directly to us or the partners that we work with. With this, I give the floor to my colleague Piero Remitti.
Thank you, Iliyana and Alexandra. Of course, this one is this one. Okay. Okay, so summarizing very briefly, the first type of technical assistance presented by Alexandra is for new cities, cities that still do not have a climate action plan. So cities that are not still yet engaged in the GCoM, so that need assistance to start the process of planning for climate action. We will assist according to the information given by Alexandra. The second type is on the next steps, approaching implementation, so facilitating the building of more detailed project ideas that can be brought towards the bankability. And this type of assistance will be given by our climate finance expert, up to 20 projects, and this is for cities that are already signatory of the Global Covenant of Mayors and already have a climate action plans to a degree, with some projects to a degree of maturity that can be brought forward. Last but not least, this further type of technical assistance is trying to deal with the advocacy and facilitation for multi-level implementation of climate action plans and NDCs together. So climate action plan integrated in the same process of implementation with the national determined contribution. So national authorities working together with the local governments. What happens here? It's quite recognized, let's say officially, since 1 year before the COP26, the recent COP26, that the current NDC, most of the current NDC, National Determined Contribution documents provided to within the UNFCCC framework are not, let's say, good enough. their quality is not the good one in order to reach the targets of the Paris Agreement. Either if those NDC will be implemented 100%, and it's not absolutely the case at the moment, but either in the case they will not give us the chance to respect the threshold of 1.5 degrees fixed by the Paris Agreement. So there's a gap, there's a strong gap. This is giving life to, this will be either more motivated, more explained in the current global stocktake exercise that has been initiated by the UNFCCC in the last months. So there will be a global evaluation more in detail of NDC with the possibility for each country to update and improve either the ambition as well as the implementation modalities of their own NDC process. This is happening now, is currently happening. This will be the key, one of the key points in the next COP27. And this gives to them, to our cities and their own climate action plan, from our point of view, a great opportunity, because this update exercise of many national determined contribution is not now happening every 5 years, as it was foreseen by the previous framework, but it's happening year by year. So our cities have the great opportunity to involve with and engage with national authorities, and as to the national authorities, their direct contribution and their integration in a unique process between NDC and climate action plans. This is what the GCoM is pushing for and will be pushing for, among many other initiatives with this technical assistance. So we are here mainly working in 3 levels. The first one is integration of the common reporting framework we have, together with the national accountancy given at national level for the inventory of the global emissions produced at national level. So our climate action plan are done, our city's climate action plan are done according to a common reporting framework. We have a huge and wide extensive database of carbon emissions and the risk and vulnerability analysis from 12,000 top cities around the world. But those numbers, those databases, those indicators, those data are not going together in the same basket of the national accountancy, the national accountability. So we want to facilitate this process. So we want that local contribution to the carbon emissions are accounted as well as together in an integrated manner with the national one. The second one is integration of the urban areas in the NDC financial documents in order to reach what Iliyana was illustrating. So in order to reach implementation and financing availability for realization of our city's project, we need to know what financial resources are available at national level. And so we need to integrate our projects, our city's project, in the national documents, whatever will be, because this, of course, is a type of document that is different state by state. And the third one is we want to make our climate action plan being part of the national institutional framework for planning. So climate action plan are to be recognized as a crucial part, crucial step, crucial document in the national institutional planning framework. So this in the, let's say, medium time. In the very short time, supporting the 2 types of technical assistance presented by Alexandra and Iliyana, we are going in the countries where this is possible and this is feasible. That means where national authorities are available and motivated to do it. We are going to facilitate, to organize matchmaking events. So we want to put together around the same desk with the same capacities for negotiation, national authorities, different tiers, regional, district, province, whatever it is, the institutional framework for each country. It's different country by country, of course. And our local governments, our cities. So our cities can push, submit, apply, negotiate, discuss how their own projects can be implemented, counting on a blending of financial resources, either coming from the national level or the national financial context and budget, as well as from international donors. This can be done with reference to area projects, so involving same cities, many cities from one region, from one larger area, on sector base, one sector base, for instance, mobility, joining all cities that have mature project in a particular sector, and also on a single project basis, depending on the size, because of course we need to reach a meaningful size and dimension of the project. This is the range of institutions we could envisage participating in these matchmaking activities. All the different type of stakeholders involved in climate action plans implementation should be represented according to the local and domestic and national context. It can be changed in country by country, time by time, and project by project. Of course, what is important here is that the lead has to be given by the financial to the financial minister, because he's the one having in their own hands the capacity for implementation. So those matchmaking make sense only if the financial minister or national authorities participating, possibly with a leading role. There's a lot of things we can produce here as a GCoM to facilitate this process of matchmaking events and capacities. We can start from advocacy and lobbying with the national authorities, so engaging. This is mostly useful for intermediary and small cities. Big cities have the capacity to relate directly with the national authorities. Intermediary cities do not have very often, unless that there is some particular situation, but they do not have voice. So we can facilitate this, jumping into the process as an international authority organization with capacity to do this. We can provide a very important guideline and a methodology for how to integrate NDCs with climate action plans. At the moment, those two documents are really separated, speaking of with the same scope, of the same things, but one is at the national level, the other one has a very local level. So they need a kind of methodology for transition, for mutual integration. We can build this country by country because, as well, again, situations are different. We can provide capacity building to national and local teams that are involved in the process according to the specific projects that are involved. And again, we can cover all the expertise required for development of the project. Alexandra gave you an overview of the team that is at our disposal. We can cover the cost for this activity. We can break down the NDC according to the project we are dealing with, in order to understand what is the real role and the competence of each one action plans with relation to the NDC. So we can help to identify this is something that can be done by national level, but this process, this action must be done at local level. So this is something that we can do, and we are already starting to do with our climate action plan. Okay. Okay, this is our main support, technical assistance that will be provided, again, in a very integrated manner with the previous two. So this is a little bit behind at the moment in terms of design, because of course we have to start first with Alexandra's input, then with Iliyana, and then we can jump and come and help in the relation with national authorities and government. So this is in a nutshell the full package. As you have seen, very much integrated. I don't know if you want to add something more, but we can also get some questions if there are questions or any comments you might have, of course. Very much interesting in any case. If not, thank you very much for your participation. I hope it was helpful to understand the next offer. For any further update, please stay tuned with our communication channel, the websites, our regional covenants. Looking here very much to the Indian friends that will be very much involved in this in the next months for sure. And we are also glad and happy to provide any further information you might need. Please connect to us through our different communication tools. Thank you very much.